It's so easy to find yourself in a silo where you think there's a huge amount of people that see the same thing as you, when in reality, there's just a lot of people that are just kind of in the middle and don't really care and don't want to vocalize their opinion because they might be blasted for it. And so for us, it's been really fun to kind of play the middle ground, to be the people that play naive because we just want to hear people's full opinions and be able to figure out where we relate and where we don't, but not focus on where we don't and focus more on the positive aspect of how are we common. Like the perfect example is the Liver King. Like, we had never had a guest we didn't have on the show, but we've never featured someone on the show where I've had so many DMs and comments being like, I can't believe that you are promoting the Liver King. And I'm like, you are focused on one aspect of this guy and not realizing that there's so much benefit. Where else are you doing that in your life?
Trident Coffee is sponsoring this episode of the Invictus Mindset Podcast. My guys over at Trident taught me something really important this last year, that we are all a bundle of stories, both good and bad, and everything in between. At Trident, they're storytellers. All of their cold brews remind their customers that they are part of something bigger than themselves. They help create connections through symbology and storytelling that engage their customers on an emotional level, and this distinguishes them from other coffee brands. You can find Trident in Imperial Beach and in Coronado. They offer over 14 plus nitro cold brews along with dairy-free options. You can find the perfect brew and pair it with one of their treats from their keto bakery. All of these options will allow you to support your health and fitness journey with Trident Coffee. They're more than just a coffee company. You can check them out over at tridentcoffee.com and use code Invictus20 for 20% off online and in tap rooms. Once again, that's tridentcoffee.com. Use code Invictus20 for 20% off online and in tap rooms. Take your coffee experience to the next level. Striving to maximize your potential through health, wellness, and high-level fitness requires tremendous midline strength and stability. Allow the crew over at Element 26 to co-pilot your journey so that you can destroy PRs and not destroy your body. They have this amazing self-locking weightlifting belt that provides a 4-inch uniform profile for optimal intra-abdominal pressure and back support. This quick-release technology allows the pressure to be placed on the buckle and pin instead of the Velcro. Nothing's worse than being at the bottom of a squat and having the Velcro pop on your weightlifting belt. Head on over to element26.co and use code Invictus10 at checkout to receive 10% off all online purchases. Head on over to element26.co and use code Invictus10 at checkout to receive 10% off all online purchases. Destroy your PRs, not your body. What's up, guys? Welcome to the Invictus Mindset Podcast. Today's guests are enthusiasts, filmmakers, and adventurers. None other than the dynamic duo, the Buttery dudes, Marston Sawyers and Heber Cannon. Welcome to the show, guys.
Thanks for having us, man.
Stoked to be here.
I'm really excited to have both of you on at the same time. Last time I was able to connect with you guys individually, but I don't know, it's like the 2-for-1 special. Both of you guys, one podcast, tons of content. So first and foremost, thanks so much for doing this. Like, I know it's last minute, but you guys are just like connecting with so many great people recently. I'm just excited to pick your brains a little bit.
Let's do it.
With that being said, what the fuck is this Buttermobile? You guys are on a new kick with this new car vibes. Like, that's amazing. You went from the truck and now you've got the Buttery SUV. Like, what's that all about? And how was pulling that in your most recent episode?
So yeah, like we've had a truck for a while, and Heber ended up actually buying that truck. And around the time he bought it, the guy that supplied the truck, his name's Joey, and he runs a dealership up in northern Utah. He said that he wanted to get us a new SUV, and he was going to kit it out and wrap it and everything. So then we started talking to our graphics designer and our motion guy. His name's Jesus.
Jesus.
Went back and forth on a design. We kind of wanted to keep it sort of similar, but incorporate a lot of the designs that we've done in our merch and our t-shirts and stuff like that. So it's got me and Heber as like characters on the hood saying, "Oh, hi, honey." And it's got Scale for Life on one side and Get That Pump on the back. It's very colorful, and you definitely see it coming from a far place away. And it's easy to find when you go park, you know?
Hey, that's a big plus.
Yeah, so it's a Nissan Armada 2022. It's lifted. It's got these big old wheels. It's got like an adventure like platform on the roof, and it's got a bunch of lights. I don't even know what I'm gonna do with the lights. I mean, like unless the fog rolls in, I don't really know what we're doing with these lights. But
I dig it, man. It's definitely got that adventure look and feel to it. What are your thoughts on it, Heber?
I'm pumped about it. It looks incredible. They did an awesome job. Jesus, the guy that does all their graphics and stuff for our designs for t-shirts and stuff, always crushes it. So when they came with us, when Joey came to us with the opportunity, we jumped on it immediately, and we're just, yeah, it looks incredible.
I dig it. And if I don't stand corrected, Mars, I believe you won in
game win
pulling the
streak.
truck.
Yeah. First one to pull it. And I even noticed now looking back at the footage that I had like still like my phone in my pocket and everything. People are like, "Rookie, take your phone out of your pocket." I was like, yeah, but you know, I got the top time on the truck pull, and I pulled it first. So usually setting the time to beat is easier to like get your time beat, but
yeah, for sure.
It was fast.
Something like that. I don't know if the first matters because you have no experience with what that's like. It's not like I can, like all I did was lean forward until I got it moving and then just fast feet to get to the finish.
For sure.
Like you have no element of like, oh, I should pace it like this.
Well, you get to watch, maybe pick up something.
Yeah, you do get to watch and learn a little bit. That's fair.
How did you guys kind of come up with this bright, prolific style coloring and this, you guys have like a vibe about you. We're seeing it with Podium a little bit. We see it with the jorts that you guys created with Born Primitive. How did that kind of become a little bit of the theme of the Buttery Bros?
I think that maybe just because we like to kind of be expressive and stand out from a lot of the other brands in the space that are a lot of grays and blacks and muted colors and stuff, and we were like, well, I feel like it kind of suits our personalities, and it's a lot more tailored to what we kind of like how we are. You know, rolling up with confetti and fireworks, you know, I guess is kind of more of our style. I think a lot of that like came from Jesus too, is like he would just make some designs and then we'd see him on Instagram and be like, "Oh, these are cool." And then those turned to be like, "Could you actually put this on like a shirt? Like, can we get this and like pay you for it?" And so it kind of expanded out from there, and now we've just kind of known as the bright, colorful duo, you know?
I would say that it's a reflection also on how we take on life and also fitness. As Mark said earlier, like there's a lot of brands in the space that are muted colors and they take it very seriously. It's fitness. Like for me, this has always been a recess from life. Like it's what I do for fun, and I have a fun approach for it. And I have that same approach when I take on things in life in general. I just want to have fun. I want to do things that are cool and fun, bright and exciting. And so I think the colors of our brand and brands that we work with is sort of a reflection of that approach to fitness and life.
Yeah, totally. I love the metaphor there. And you mentioned it briefly. It's on either the hood or the back of the vehicle. But this concept of scale for life. And oftentimes when people mention the Buttery Bros, they think, enthusiasm, they think high energy, they think fun, they think goofing around. But when you peek behind the curtain, you guys actually have some really awesome methodologies. And in your pursuit of seeking your peak expression and becoming the best version of yourselves and growing your business, I love this concept of, you know what? I'm going to spend time with some of the world's best in their arena. And yeah, we might scale a little bit, but the intensity and the stimulus is going to be relatively similar. So now we can go head to head and have this unique competition. And I just love the art and the method in which you guys do it. Where did that kind of come from? And how do you guys view it as kind of motivating and inspiring the world? Because it's really cool, especially to people like me.
I mean, I think Heber initially kind of was saying that back in the early days, and then it got developed into a catchphrase and then into like a way of living our life when we were on the road doing these shows and stuff, because it's probably pretty easy to get sucked into doing everything prescribed and feeling like you got to go with the whole pack. But as I've gotten older and as, we've done a lot of these shows now and gotten to a lot of like precarious situations, I'm always kind of like, I don't want to like do something that's above my experience that is just going to leave me feeling not as good or not as healthy. So I don't have any problem like scaling the weight back or the reps back or whatever it is, just so that I can feel the stimulus that is probably prescribed and be able to walk away feeling like I did a good effort, but also that I'm checking my ego and not feeling like I'm doing more than I should,
Totally.
I remember being at a Louis Simmons gym back in 2009, 2010.
R.I.P.
Right?
Louis.
Yeah, R.I.P. The guy's a legend. And I remember him talking about strength and getting strong and what he did with his athletes when they would come in. And, he talked a lot about working off of percentages of your 1 rep max. And it doesn't matter. Like, he's like, you shouldn't be doing the same weight that guy's doing because you're not that strong. You're not going to get gains trying to always be at 120% of what your 1 rep max is. You should be working off 70 or 80% of that. But for years, I just kind of put that on the back burner. And when I was doing CrossFit, I was always trying to do things as RX. I was always trying to do, if not more, like wear a weight vest all the time. Like, oh, I need it. This is how I'm going to get stronger. And then when we started the Buttery Bros is really when my fitness took like a back seat to like trying to make content and trying to be, generating episodes regularly and always on the road doing this stuff. And we had to scale workouts just so that we could physically be able to move the next day. So we could also, like we went from training with Rich Froning to Annie Thorisdottir to Sarah Sigmundsdottir in a matter of 3 to 4 days, all of them doing all of their workouts those days. And so to be able to keep up on those things, we had to scale. Otherwise we weren't going to be able to make content with Annie or Sarah after working with Rich all day. And so doing it there and then realizing like, oh, I'm actually getting better. I'm actually getting fitter when I scale the workouts to what's more appropriate for me. And I'm able to maintain my intensity throughout longer periods of time and longer training days. And as a result, I feel like I've gotten fitter. I'm happier. And so I think it's been fun now to like, yeah, we kind of poke fun and say, hey, yeah, we're scaling for life. But it's actually making us better athletes and better performing and fitter overall. And making that concept cool and fun is kind of a big push for me lately, is trying to make scaling something that isn't looked at as like, oh, you're doing this as a weaker version. Like, no, we're scaling right now because it doesn't matter right now. And when it matters, when we actually are doing a competition, we're going to be better as a result of it.
Yeah, I love that mindset. And I think also just the unique customization where it fits the mold and the life that you want to live is really special. And you hit the nail on the head, like making it cool. So people realize that it's not less than, it's the appropriate version. And it's clearly working. I mean, poking around on your Instagram, you hit a 327 back squat recently and a 426 deadlift. Like, that's not bad, man. Most people that are traveling as much as you guys and integrating as much time, energy, enthusiasm, lack of sleep since you're staying up editing and whatnot, most people disregard their fitness altogether. And, that's kind of where I'd like to take the conversation next a little bit with you guys is, as you're entering more of this entrepreneurial space, you're seeing, you guys have merchandise, you have content creation, you have Podium, you have your connection with Rain Energy, with Blenders Eyewear, and that's just the tip of the iceberg. As your plate gets more full, how do you hold yourselves accountable to maintain a certain level of fitness so that way you can maintain the freedoms to continue to do all these cool things?
I feel like it's more of just part of my lifestyle now. Like I look forward to working out. I look forward to going on runs and on jogs and then just meeting up with the crew at the CrossFit gym and kind of connecting and broing out, So it's kind of just a byproduct of what we do. If I wasn't doing that stuff, I feel like my mental health, as well as my physical health would lack. As I get more into this stuff, I find new things that I like to train and new programs. I'm kind of a program hopper. I hop on stuff and figure out what I like to use and leave what I don't. But I'm kind of at the point where I'm like I like to train what I like to train, and like everybody talks about train your weaknesses, and I'm like, I'm not gonna do pistols. They're a weakness. They're gonna stay that way, So as far as like just doing this type of stuff, it's a lot more of a lifestyle than like a chore or something that I feel like I have to do. Like it's some of the best parts of my day.
You guys have found a way to blend the line between work and play, and it's so cool to watch.
Yeah.
I tell that to my son all the time. I'm like, hey man, you can, whatever you want to do, you can do it, and it can be your job. You just have to figure it out. And because he was like, Dad, all you do is play and work out for work. And I'm like, kind of. That's what you see, but like you also miss the hours that I'm on my laptop just downstairs in the basement editing. But I teach him, like I've worked really hard to get to a place where I can do things that I love, and share that with other people as my job. And that's not something that a lot of other parents have. And he's all interested in it now. He's all interested in what businesses we're working on and what logos and designs we're working on. It's fascinating to see.
It's really cool, guys. I really appreciate you sharing that. I also think it's important to note to our listeners and our viewers that yes, you do blend the line between work and play, but you still got to put in the work. And that may be creating an outline for content creation, where you're going to travel, who you're going to connect with, what are the varying events, aka semifinals, like we're kind of in the midst of now in the different regions. There's definitely some things behind the curtain that don't necessarily get popularized on your YouTube channel or on Instagram. How do you guys have the discipline to kind of do that? You don't necessarily have somebody over your shoulder telling you what to do, but how do you kind of create a little bit of a disciplinary plan so that way you are getting things done, optimizing deadlines, and then finding ways to seamlessly work together with one another?
I mean, so recently we started doing every Monday we were publishing a video, which if we were doing it prior to that, it was kind of like when we got the video done is when we'd publish or when it was convenient to. So sticking to a schedule now has been a little bit better for us as far as having consistency for the audience, but also having a little bit of planning in our own lives. But it is challenging to go for week to week, creating new content and starting from scratch every time. And it takes a lot of creativity. And me and Heber will, powwow and get together and try and figure out what's going to be the most engaging, but also like the most fulfilling as far as content. Because usually there's like a line between like what you want to create or what sounds fun or like maybe what will do well, and trying to figure out what the combination of new ideas blended with things that you've done in the past that will pay like an homage to the audience that supports you. And I feel like we do a good job of staying busy and constantly figuring out new ways to incorporate guests and new sports, and not just CrossFit, but the broader fitness community. And yeah, like we just went to Iceland and we're able to collaborate with like all the obviously the greats like Annie and BKG and the team down there. And then we were able to collaborate with Thor because we're part of the Rain family, and so got to go do stuff with him, and then a bunch of like touristy stuff outside of that we can figure out how to like blend into the show to make it a lot more like lifestyle and stuff like that. So you're not just like confined to the gym. And I think that'd get repetitive if we were just in the gym every single show. Usually when you tune in, there's just going to be a whole bunch of other stuff. Like we're going to do a workout, but then there's going to be river rafting and waterfalls and jumping off stuff. I didn't jump off stuff to the most recent one, but what do you think, Heaves?
I'm trying to remember the original question, but I think just in general, figuring out things that sound interesting for us to do. And it's not really that hard for Marsden and I to stay busy, because we have the goal of putting out an episode once. It used to be every 10 days. Now we do, like you said, every Monday. But as long as we're hitting those dates, like everything else tends to grow. And like we're doing things that we want to do anyways. So like we want to be going to the gym. We want to be meeting really fun people. We want to be exploring the world and finding new life experiences. And so we're just able to document that. And the biggest thing that we do for our schedule is figuring out when we're publishing and what we're publishing that day, and then kind of working backwards from there.
That's really cool. I always love hearing the dynamic of how high performers kind of put out their craft. And you guys do a great job of it. I mean, I really enjoy consuming your content. So thank you guys for, having such fast turnarounds. With that being said, I'd love to touch on some of the most recent videos. And I'll go back a little bit to, what's very popular right now, which is Liver King. You guys got to spend some time with him. I've connected with him a little bit and chatted with him. What was that experience kind of like? And, what was it like, connecting with the dude that says, "What up, primals?" and his 9 ancestral tenets, and, how was, liver with a little bit of salt and maple syrup?
So we didn't actually connect with him. We just did his 9 tenets. So
okay.
Basically we broke down all the different 9 things that we could do. And we basically lived a day like the Liver King. So we obviously, he's been on the internet and he's very polarizing. Some people hate him, some people love him. So we just wanted to be like, here's the 9 tenets that he does, take or leave whatever you want, and see if there's something that you can get out of it.
Totally. And just for our listeners, the 9 tenets are sleep, eat, move, shield, connect, cold, sun, fight, and bond. And those are things that you guys got to like specifically live for a day. That's very cool.
Yeah, we did all those, but then we also did his barbarian workout where he has he drags a sled with kettlebells in each hand and a weighted backpack with ankle weights. It seems pretty excessive if you ask me, but he does it every Saturday, I guess.
That's the point.
Mars, You're going to say that's excessive, but you're the guy that just randomly decided to run 26.2 miles in Salt Lake City in rain and snow. Interesting.
The conditions weren't optimal, but I got it done. It was not something like I was always like, yeah, I got to do a marathon. It was just kind of something like, yeah, that'd be cool to do one day. But that day was like never knocking at my back door. So until, we started doing these challenges, and then Heber was like, you should do a marathon. And I was like, oh, okay. and then, I was able to get a couple of buddies to run it with me. And once they signed up, they actually signed up before me. And I was like, okay, I guess I actually got to commit to doing this, and signed up, and we got it done. And Heber was there, like providing snacks, sometimes cold hot dogs. Other times like a very much needed like maple donut, which was like the best, and some Advil and stuff. But great pit crew, and we got it done.
I dig it, man. I know we're jumping around a little bit, but I can't help but throw this out there. And Heber, you could probably provide a little bit of context here for our listeners, but I believe you held yourself to a standard to start the year, and you weren't hitting that standard. So your punishment was the 1,000 burpees. Now, it's just so funny to me that, after every 100, you guys had the board with the balloons and the different notes inside, and you threw the darts to elicit the next version of the 100 burpee challenge. And one of those, Marston mentioned the cold hot dog, was eating a cold hot dog before the 100 burpees. And I remember watching that episode and just could not help but chuckle.
Yeah, that was rough. So my standard was I had 3 goals, 3 daily things that I wanted to create as habits. And if I didn't hit one of those goals, for each one of those, I had 50 burpees. And because we had traveled so much for Wadapalooza, and then we did this trip from in Cookville to Nashville with Rich Froning and then Brooke Wells, or vice versa, I got behind. And so it had added up to like 1,300 burpees, and I worked it down
by February
to 7.
too.
It was by February.
It was a really attainable goal.
And I had done this last year, and it was fine, but I was more on top of the burpees. So I decided that I was like, it'll be a funny video if we just do 1,000 burpees, and I owe 800. So now I'll just have 2 extra that I have in the bank for if I miss a day or 2 coming up. So yeah, but watching someone just do 1,000 burpees isn't really that interesting. So we came up with the idea that like every 100, there's a reward or there's a punishment, and the punishment might be what you're doing for the next 100. So for 100, we wore a sauna suit. For 100, we wore a weight vest. For 100, we were able to eat Sour Patch watermelons. We had roller skates. We had duct tape over our mouths. We had burpee box jump overs, and then we had like slam dunk You had to slam a basketball every burpee. But as a team of 3, it worked out, or 4, I guess it worked out pretty well. We had a really good time. And honestly, like, it was fun. It took us like 2 hours, but we had a good time.
Yeah, I enjoyed watching that episode for sure. Jumping back, Heebs, what was your experience like with the 9 ancestral tenets and kind of living a day like Liver King?
So yeah, what interested me about that was a lot of attention is drawn to the raw meat, which Marsden loved. He could not get enough of it. But like, a lot of attention is drawn to that tenet, but a lot of his other tenets are stuff that general CrossFitters do and our community does on a regular basis, like move, shield, fight, bond, like those. Yeah, cold. Like, that's something that I do regularly, and I think is a positive thing in my life. And so it was fun to just dive into all 9 and really experience each one individually. And it was funny because, like, my wife was super on board with like the cold and the grounding and like putting your cell phone away so you don't get these EMF signals. And some of that I'm like, yeah, I'll sleep next to my cell phone. I don't notice a difference. But when it came to like raw food, she was like, no, can't do it. Like, was freaking out. So I made her come watch because I was like, I think it'll help her. She has like some major OCD issues. And I think it did. It helped her like understand raw food a little bit better, to understand like the ideology that people have behind like a carnivore diet or a raw meat diet. And we learned a lot. It didn't help Marsden, but it was fun to have, like, we invited our friends, the Blevins, on, who are nutritionists, and they're kind of hippie-ish like Liver King in that respect. And so they had a great insight as to why people would eat like this and what the benefits are. And so it was super educational. I will say, like, my HRV and my recovery scores the 3 or 4 days after the liver was really high, like noticeably higher than other days. But I haven't had raw liver since.
I'd take it in pill form. Send me the pills.
Yeah, pill form wouldn't be that bad.
He
and
was.
I didn't
You
think
were
it was
a
that
champ.
bad.
Like, you ate it and just kept eye contact with the camera the whole time, and I'm sitting here just like
gagging,
falling apart. That was such a hard time, and he just bodied it. It was so impressive. I don't know. Maybe it's just because he's a dad.
I'm a dad, or I have like zero sense of smell, so I couldn't, like. It has to be a really strong taste. But I thought the texture would mess me up, and I was fine with the texture.
That's what was going to be my next question is, what is the educational concept around it needing to be raw? Can you cook it and still get the nutritional benefits,
apparently,
or does it decrease the nutrition?
It decreases the nutrition. So it's like optimally the most, like, it's almost like the best thing you can eat on earth as far as the nutritional value. I'd still probably throw it in the microwave or something.
I think the microwave's the worst place to cook it.
Yeah, that's probably the worst place. Maybe
we'll throw it on the grill.
I don't know how you. I don't know. Organ meats are not my specialty, man. I don't know.
I just think it's great that you guys have the willingness and the courage to expose yourself to something like that on camera, which puts you in a very vulnerable situation, but leads to our entertainment as consumers. With that being said, I want to ask you guys a little bit about this whole internet culture, because as you mentioned with Liver King, everybody leans into the food specific tenet. Everybody wants to know, is he natty or not? Let's take those things out of the equation. And just from a general health and wellness standpoint, these tenets are freaking awesome. When you're looking at optimizing health and well-being and trying to integrate a better, more well-connected version of yourself, I think these 9 tenets are really cool. What is it about the internet that they typically love leaning towards the negative when there's a ton of positivity that this guy's putting out there, and he does it in a very character-like form, very similar to how you guys are, but it's really good content when you like get past the things that are kind of eyebrow raising. What are your thoughts on that, Mars?
I mean, usually it seems that negativity is more popular in the world we live in, rather than like promoting people and being positive about it, which is just unfortunate. And I'm not a fan of the troll mentality of the internet.
Do you guys deal with that at all?
Yeah, I mean, we do, but I try to just ignore it and keep moving forward and doing what we're doing, because I don't try to let it affect me. Obviously, like, haters and all that stuff is part of the world we live in. But I've just been trying to learn to like approach all of that with love, and you know, you kind of shock people when you feed them kindness when they feed you hate, you know, and I feel like that's always kind of the best defense mechanism when it comes to that type of stuff. So yeah, I think a lot of people look at Liver King and I think that they immediately wonder if he's on steroids and all that. And he, you know, you could say that about a lot of people. And I always try to like give people the benefit of the doubt. And, you know, I have no idea what their lives are like and what's all behind the curtain and everything. So I don't try to like assume anything. I just try to like, you know, here's his 9 tenets. This is what we're going to try and take from it. And you guys can draw your own conclusions type of thing.
Yeah, it's a great approach. By the way, Heber, I love seeing your eyes kind of dance as you're like, hey, how should I answer this portion of the question? Like, I love seeing your wheels spin a little bit. And how, you know, people love throwing around haterade, but there's a lot of great benefit that, you know, Liver King puts out, that you put out, that other people put out. How do you navigate the negativity within the internet culture?
Well, there's 2 things I want to say. One was like Liver King he personally leans into that liver. Like he like liver is king. That's his thing, right? But it is very eye catching when you go to his Instagram story or TikTok and it's like, this is what Liver King's having for dinner, and it just shows you all this raw meat, and you're like, how can a single human consume all this stuff? Which is very eye catching. And then I think it takes an educated person to then sit down and go through the rest of the stuff of what he's preaching or telling his audience, to then have a better understanding of what this guy's all about. I think if you're judging a book by its cover, you're missing some of the educational stuff behind it. And so I think we have that same thing where like we do these kind of outrageous and loud things. Our intros are very big and bright and colorful, and we have motion graphics all over the place. But then once you dive into the content, there's a lot of education, there's a lot of entertainment, and there's a lot of value there. People that are negative in the space, like Martin said, like it's so easy to jump on the negativity train, and people want that. And I just feel bad for people like that. Like, especially if you're the guy voicing it, like if you feel so bad about yourself that you have to go online faceless and leave a comment on someone's Instagram or leave a comment on YouTube to throw down someone else's work. Like you must have some child issues or parent issues, or like there's something else happening there that like has messed you up as a person. Unless you're providing like an actual critique that is beneficial for all parties. And there are comments like that are there, but in general, I think people love to jump on negativity, and for us, it's something that I have never wanted to be a part of. None of our content, especially the Buttery Bros stuff, has had any drama whatsoever. We try to stay away from that just because that's not what inspires people. Like that just, if all you're doing is focusing on negativity, you're not going to be wanting to move. You're not going to be wanting to go do something that's pushing your envelope. You're just going to find yourself in a rut overall. And so for me, to just live a happier overall life, I focus very hard on the positivity, and we have developed a really, like I hate to use the word cultivated an audience that's extremely optimistic and positive, but like never before have I seen a YouTube channel with more positive comments on it than our own channel. And I don't know if that's because we're encouraging people to leave comments, but they all tend to be like 99.9% very positive, which is really cool.
Yeah, it is really cool, and it's fun to observe. You know, Rogan talks about that with some of the comedians that he has on, like, hey, I don't look at the comments. And I know a lot of these NBA and NFL players, you know, dance around that a little bit too with Twitter and all the, you know, different opinions that fans may have. But you guys do an awesome job navigating that. It's really cool to observe. 2 important factors for us over at Invictus Mindset are true care and attention to detail. My friends over at RX Smart Gear have been bringing innovative fitness tools to the market since 2009. From their award-winning Evo speed ropes to their amazing gymnastics grips to their line of inflatable fitness equipment, they're constantly looking to problem solve within the fitness industry. They're always allowing us to have our gear work for us rather than against us. Hop on over to RX Smart Gear and use discount code Invictus Mindset to shop their latest cutting edge gear. Have your gear work with you and not against you. With that being said, I'd love to jump a little bit to one of your next content pieces that you guys put out, which was this really fun adventure in Iceland. And that started with Team Recoveries that just recently performed incredibly well at their semifinal with 6 victories. What was interacting with that crew like, and Bjork, Carl Gudmundsson, and Katrin and Brooks and that whole crew out there in Iceland?
Yeah, I mean, those guys are all really good friends of ours, so it was good to get over there and catch up. We've been to Iceland. I've been there 3 other times. I think Heber's been there 4 other times. So
it looks gorgeous.
Yeah, it's a very cool place to go explore and do adventures, and it's great for content. But it was cool to, like, right when we were on the plane, I didn't know Brooks was coming, and he just showed up on the plane and kind of surprised me. And Heber knew about it. I didn't know about it. So they kind of got this pretty big surprise. And then we went to the gym and got to meet up with Katrin and Annie and then the team. And you could tell that, like, they're still, coming together as a squad. Like, they're all on the same page, but they're all, 4 different individuals coming together to be on a team for the first time. So you're kind of noticing different things that each athlete brings to the table and different strengths, and just them trying to, like, work out the kinks. And obviously they had a fantastic showing this last weekend at the Lowlands. But it was cool just to kind of be in the scenario where the stakes weren't really all that high when we were there. They're gearing up for that competition, but we were getting to interact with their coach Yami, and I have nothing but, like, great things to say about this guy. Like, he's such a good coach. He's really well at taking. He'll watch you move, and then he'll basically come over and, like, he was correcting my movement and telling me, like, hey, you could do this better, you could do that better. And I was just like, wow, this is cool that I'm able to get this correction. And you could really tell that he cares, and he has a really good eye. And so it was probably really beneficial for all 4 of them to get that same type of treatment and come together as a squad. And then outside of that, we just did a bunch of exploring and got to go to some waterfalls, got to do some whitewater rafting, and trying to think of any of the other stuff we did.
You got to observe Heber jumping into the cold. Your least favorite thing.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I don't mind the cold. Like, I've actually, like, here's the thing. I got a cold plunge, so I, like, train this stuff. So I probably should have jumped in the water that day. And I kind of have a little bit of regrets now because everybody's
I'm just teasing you a little bit. Well, if anybody listened to our other episode, you talked about how Heber was a cold water seeker.
Yeah.
And how, like, when you were in Iceland last time, he like wanted to drive all the way out to this, like,
melting
cold
glacier
water area, and you stayed in the car in the heat. So I just had to bust your balls a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, I don't mind getting cold if I could, like, warm up afterwards. This was like, if I jump into this river, I'm just going to be in a wet, cold suit the rest of the day. So I was like, yeah, I mean, it sounds super soft now, but
super soft, bro. There was, like, teenagers jumping in. There's other tourists that are jumping in.
It was at the long stretch.
This tough CrossFitter
I ran a marathon, flew to Iceland.
I can't get in some cold water.
I think I was just at the end of my wanting to get cold. Like, it was a long week. Okay.
I dig it. I love how I can play the role of instigator over here. This is fantastic. What was your experience like, Heber, out in Iceland?
Man, I love Iceland. I think the landscape there is incredible. I could go out and stay. I don't know that I could live there, but I would love to go out for, like, a month and just explore the entire island. In terms of the athletes there, what I'd say about the team is I think it's fascinating and really cool. Anytime you get to be around a team aspect, to see who's the alpha, who's leading the team, who's pushing others to be better, and also, like, who's figuring out the programming. And, like, I've spent some time with the Mayhem squad, and it's, Rich is that, so it's everyone goes there, they're doing what Rich is doing. It's fascinating to watch how he programs and how they come up with a workout. It's not like they've got it all organized the night before. Like, they'll go to the whiteboard in between sessions and be like, okay, what are we gonna do now? But with Iceland, like, Annie is sort of that leader, right? She's the one that brought the team together. She's the most experienced athlete. She's the one on the team that has won the CrossFit Games twice. And so it's really cool to see a female taking that role and then also, not that she needs the help, but she's built what's made her very successful is that team with Yami and her husband, Frederick, who have been there by her side throughout her entire career. And so Yami takes the lead in terms of like coaching people on what the aspect of the workout is. He's going to each athlete afterwards and breaking down like, hey, you might be frustrated by this or how this went down, but that's okay because of X, Y, and Z. Or he's saying, hey, you did really well here. You can work on this. But like just keeping an eye on him after the workout finished, we did this really gnarly 30-minute or 20-minute EMOM, however you approached it. And he was going to each athlete and checking in with them and asking them questions and talking them through it, which was really cool. And then also, that's just the team. That the individuals of BKG and Katrin are always just inspiring to work out with. Katrin's such a bright light and so fun to hang out with. And BKG's a shadow. He's very quiet, very reserved, but the second you get him talking, that guy's super entertaining. And then, as we kind of talked about earlier, we had the opportunity to hang out with Thor, Thor Bjornsson the Mountain from Game of Thrones, a world's strongest man. He is super, like, my wife had this anecdote about him, which was funny. You have this vibe from him because he's so big, because he's so successful as an actor and as a strongman, that you forget that he's not that old. Like, he's just a dude. And so when we got into the...
We're older than him.
Well, yeah, I'm older than him.
We're both older than him. I
but
look at him like...
way older.
He's
right?
like, yeah. You're like looking up to him. You're like, hey.
Yeah. Hey, Dad. Yeah.
Yeah.
No. And like we got into his hot sauna and then we got into the cold plunge and we were making jokes. And the way he was laughing at some of our jokes, I was like, oh, yeah. Like, he's a dude. Like, he's super intimidating because of his size and because of it. Like, he doesn't speak English like fluently. Like he does. He speaks, but like some of the stuff gets a little bit lost in translation. And so, but it was really fun to just kind of get to know him on a better level other than just like this super strong freak, and get to know him as a human and interact with him. That was probably one of the highlights of the trip for me.
I loved what you said right there, which is getting to know him as a human. And I think sometimes when you're connecting with these people in such a vulnerable state, whether that's a workout, a cold exposure, a sauna, you get to humanize the individual a little bit because they're faced with stress versus, whatever persona they want to put on. I think that's really cool that you guys get authentic connection with people and then find a way to make it incredibly entertaining. And that view from the sauna there in Iceland with Thor looked epic. What was that setup kind of like there at that spa that you guys kind of documented?
Oh, okay. So you're talking about Sky Lagoon? Yeah. So obviously everybody talks about Blue Lagoon when you go to Iceland because it's just been around a little while, but Sky Lagoon's like this new spa that is kind of taking Iceland by storm, I'm going to say. But you get there and they have these like 7 different steps. You go through this like warm lagoon and it's like beautiful with these like black rocks and it's got like cliffs and stuff. And then they got like whatever those endless pool looking things are, Infinity pool. Yeah, they got one of those and they got waterfalls and everything. So it's like you get there and the vibe is set, and then you go in. They have this 7-step ritual where you go into the cold plunge, and then you go into a steam room, which it's like a glass panel that overlooks the ocean, and it's literally like the coolest sauna you could probably. I'm yet to find a better one. So you go from that overlooking the ocean to a cold mist, which is just kind of like refreshing after being super hot. And then they give you a salt scrub, and you like scrub your whole body with salt, and then you go marinate in a steam room, then take a shower, and that's the 7-step process. And then you can go back into the lagoon and kind of just wander around. But of all the places and all the spas, that one takes the cake for me. I thought that was such a cool spot, and I've really become like a sauna enthusiast in the past little while. I just got myself one. And so anytime we can go and do these spa retreats, I'm like, yeah, let's get pampered with the girls.
I dig it. What are your thoughts, Heaps?
I loved it. Yeah, the Sky Lagoon was incredible. We did 3 spa experiences while we were there, and Sky Lagoon is right there in Reykjavik. It's right near downtown. It's like 15 minutes from CrossFit Reykjavik if you're in there. It's beautiful. It's incredibly well put up. What what was unique about all three was one was the Sky Lagoon, and that's where we started, which was incredible. And that infinity pool is overlooking the ocean there in Iceland, which is a weird contrast because you're in water that's like 100 degrees, looking at water that's like 35 degrees. And then we were able to go to Thor's personal backyard spa where he has this incredible sauna. And for like a home use sauna, it's the nicest sauna that I've ever been in. And it was the hottest sauna that I've ever been in. And then he had like a massive cold plunge that fit all four of us, and then a hot tub that fit all four of us just like right next to it, which was incredible. And then we finished off with the Blue Lagoon, which the difference between blue and sky is blue is a natural hot spring. So it has like a very sulfury smell, but the water's naturally warmed from the earth, and it's white, which is really like visually cool and aesthetic. And it's another beautiful resort there in Iceland. Yeah, Sky is definitely the new hot chick out there for saunas.
That's super cool. You guys are going to need to be like put on payroll for, some sort of travel agency heading out there. That's pretty cool. I myself also put a sauna at the house, and dude, the heat shock proteins and then the contrast with the cold plunge, like there's so much benefit. And you see the data on the Whoop score and the recovery score, and, dialing in your sleep a little bit. What is a protocol that you guys kind of use, or what are some methodologies that you could potentially share with our audience around how you guys dial in your recovery with training and travel and food and sleep and editing? You've got a pretty full plate, and you're always challenged to be up. I feel like the external world has an expectation as to what they're supposed to get from the Buttery Bros. How do you manage all that in addition to your recovery?
Well, usually when we're on the go, and if I'm not recovered, it's just like, hey, suck it up, and we're going to take down some fuse and some rains, and we're going to get after it. Obviously,
light the fuse.
Light the fuse. Obviously, getting more sleep is beneficial, but a lot of times when we're traveling, we're trying to stay up late, edit photos, edit videos, and we just aren't able to do that. But obviously, sauna, cold plunge, contrast, that all that type of stuff helps with recovery. So that's why I have one at home, and that's why like anytime I'm at home, I get in that every day I'm home. So aside from that, Beam is a good one. If you're having issues sleeping, it usually puts me to sleep quicker, and I'm able to like sleep sounder, and it usually helps with my recovery. And so,
but you have to drink it from the Buttery Bros cup.
Yeah, Buttery Bros cup, or if you're in Iceland, you do it out of like a yak's horn, But aside from that, when we're on the road, what's funny is my recovery score kind of goes up, which is weird. Yeah, I don't know if it's because I don't know if elevation has much to do with that, but like I'd be at home and in the red, and then I'd go to Hawaii and go straight to the green. I don't know if it's just because you're in paradise, but aside from that, Heber's usually much more recovered than I am. Like we just did this thing where we looked at our red versus yellow and green days, and he had like one red day a month, and I was like 8. So Heber's obviously probably a better person to talk to.
The recovery pro. What are your thoughts? What's your secret sauce?
I don't know that I'm a recovery pro, but I do. I mean, going back to Liver King's tenets is so I've like, and back to my 1,000 burpees for time. One of my challenges this year was to, it's funny, every year I try to add 30 minutes more average sleep time to my night. So back in 2019, it was 6 hours. This year or maybe that was 2020. Now I'm at 7 hours. If I don't hit 7 hours, I owed 50 burpees a day. But
that's why you did 1,000, I guess.
Yeah, that's why I did 1,000 after Wadapalooza, having slept like 2 or 3 hours a night for 5 days in a row. But when I'm home, I try to prioritize sleep. I've actually used Whoops like wake me up when I've hit 100% of my sleep lately, which has been kind of cool. So I don't set an alarm. I just set that. And then I set like a last thing alarm because I want to hang out with my kids before they go to school. So like I've been going to bed earlier. That's been super helpful. Not having any screens in bed has been a game changer. Making sure, Beam's a big one. And then a cold plunge first thing when I wake up. And then also with traveling, like there's two things that I try to do when we travel. Not always great at it. Definitely better when I get home. But like when we get somewhere, if we hit a quick workout, like nothing excruciating, but like just like a simple row, like get your heart rate moving.
Acclimated.
Yeah, that helps you get acclimated. And then if you can, a cold plunge whenever I land. So like when I get back to my house, I'll hop right in the ice bath, and that helps reset my clock, helps reset my system, and I sleep better, and I feel like I don't feel terrible like I've been flying all day, which oftentimes, like we're about to go to Mac, and Knoxville's not that far, but it takes 2 flights. It's like a full day of travel to get there. I can't wait to get back to my ice bath when I do a day like that.
Yeah, you're a psycho. He starts his day by getting into the cold plunge. I don't do that. Like I usually
I'm in
end
this
my
world.
day. Yeah, like my protocol is I cook myself in the sauna until I'm so uncomfortable that I'm like, you know what? Cold water actually doesn't sound too bad. And so,
I'm actually very similar to you, Mars. I like that one better. When I had the cold plunge without the sauna, it's like I stare at the cold plunge like
Yeah.
it's me versus you, dude.
I know.
But that's the thing, is you do that and then you get in it and you beat it.
Yes.
And all you had to do was sit down.
I know. But
It's totally true. And the self-talk always becomes, I never regret the cold plunge when I do it. I always regret it when I don't.
Yeah.
And
The
I think
sauna,
it's cool.
The sauna's the fluffer for the cold plunge.
It totally is.
I was gonna say I don't have a sauna at my house. I'm not privileged like you two guys. So so what I've been doing is I've been biking for an hour in a sauna suit to get the same effect.
I
Trying to
dig
get
it.
the body temperature super hot, and then it's really refreshing to get in the ice bath. It's very different doing that as opposed to first thing in the morning, which I did this morning. Wake up. And I'm like, oh, I got to be alert for this podcast. I'm going to go sit in the ice bath for 5 minutes and then stand out in the sun for another 5 to 10 after that.
And that's tenants, getting them tenants.
Yeah, getting them tenants in, man.
I love the implementation though of like the Andrew Huberman protocols of like getting the sun in your eyes, the exposure first thing in the morning, and getting the norepinephrine dump, which is super cool. Elevates mood, enhances alertness. And then as I mentioned before, for hormone optimization, getting those heat shock proteins in the sauna. Not to mention, Mars and I are not as privileged as you, Heber, to have dad strength. So, dad strength plays a role for sure. Taking a little pivot as we're getting close to wrapping things up, because I know you guys got a full plate today. What's it like, in my humble opinion? I'm viewing you guys becoming stars. You before used to travel around 2 other stars, but now when I consume your content, I'm like, man, I really enjoy seeing you guys on screen. What's it like as you guys are now being featured, with brands and on ads, with companies like Rain and like Blenders. And then I loved the post that you put up, like, hey, I didn't understand the assignment, with the picture of the Rain crew. What's it like now that you guys are kind of falling into the spotlight a little bit, and people are really, you're starting to become very recognizable, and people really love connecting and interacting with you guys?
I enjoy it. I mean, it's still pretty surreal to like go to events and have people like wanting to take photos and just stoked to see you. Cause I'm like, for the longest time we were chasing these athletes around and promoting them. And, like my ex-wife, I was doing the same thing with her and like promoting her. And then eventually got to a point where we were like, I'm just going to focus this energy on us and go create adventures and have fun. And I feel like we're pretty interesting, and our dynamic is, authentic and real. And so now that we're doing it for ourselves and have been for like 3 years now, it's pretty bizarre to think back to like not doing this and maybe working for the man and, just working for CrossFit and chasing like stories for that.
Little did you know that the subtle CrossFit debacle of the media team would be the landscape or the red carpet to transition you guys to doing what you love.
Yeah, for sure. It was definitely something that was like I was forced out of this like cushy nest that I was like, yeah, I could probably sit in this nest a little bit longer, like it's not going anywhere. So I was literally forced to fly a little bit and bet on myself. And I'm super happy that I did, because it's been a lot more fulfilling, and it's given us the freedom to do anything we really want to. So each week it's almost like the Pinky and the Brain scenario where you're like, what do you want to do today? Like we're going to take over the world, so
I dig that.
For me, it's always humbling and still kind of like I don't think that we are stars. I just think we're just two dudes that just go out and have fun. But like honestly, one of the weirdest experiences was being at the Arnold Classic, which isn't like, that's not our demo, right? Like some CrossFitters are there, Rogue's there, they have their athletes, but there's not like a huge CrossFit footprint there. And being there with like, we have Kai Green on one side, Thor on the other, Natalie Eva Marie, WWE superstar, all with like, each one of those people have like 4 million followers on one social media platform, if not multiple. And then there's just Heber and Mars. And we had a bunch of people come through that wanted to do the litter box with us and take photos with us, and that had waited in line for like an hour just to get a photo with Mars and me. And like, to me, that was really humbling, really cool. And still like, it hasn't really set in that like, that's a real thing. Because like, we're just, I just feel honored and lucky to be able to do what we're doing and having as much fun as we're having. Like it's awesome.
It's cool, especially in a world of you got to hustle, you got to grind. It's like, yeah, you guys definitely put in the hours, the time, and the energy, but the content that you guys put out is highlighting the importance of enjoying your life and having fun and connecting with people along the way and building very cool memories, which are things that you get to take with yourself one day to your grave. You don't get to take, your bank account and some of these other things that get all this notoriety. And I know this year, guys, your goal is to try to get to 250,000 followers on your YouTube channel. What can people kind of expect for your YouTube channel, and what are you guys doing to kind of get there?
I think you can expect just adventures and then like obviously features on athletes that are, some of the best in their craft, and us kind of interacting and doing a scaled down version of their workouts and stuff like that. But also, like we're going to try and find subjects that are interesting. Like, we've talked about the Liver King before, like anytime there's stuff that is kind of pushes me outside my comfort zone and makes us a little bit uncomfortable, I feel like is some of the most beneficial stuff in my life, because it teaches me a lot about myself. And I also really enjoy almost having a determined like idea or viewpoint on a particular subject, and then having that get shattered and be like, wow, I'm really happy that I took this with an open mind and was able to walk away with some sort of benefit.
I really love that you said that. In this polarizing world of like left and right or wrong or black or white, it's like, it's really cool. You and I can have a conversation and completely disagree, but then somewhere in the middle is this open-minded, safe space of, hey, if his argument is good enough, I'm definitely open-minded to, transition my approach or my perception of, said thing. And so I think I really love that you said that. That's really cool.
Yeah, I definitely really enjoy finding commonality amongst people versus finding things that don't mesh, and like find what's common among people versus like what's going to divide people. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I dig it, man. What about you, Heber?
On that note, like I think that's something that we do very well, is finding the commonality and finding what's relatable. For me, that tracks back to, I served a Mormon mission, which is a polarizing thing. I'm walking around Atlanta, Georgia, like preaching the gospel, and there's a lot of different religions there. And I met with as many of them as I possibly could, from individuals to pastors or leaders in churches, just to hear them out and hear what they had to say, and point out things that were common between my faith and theirs, as opposed to like, oh no, you're wrong because of this. Like that was never something I wanted to do. I was more interested in like the human aspect of how are we similar. And I think in today's age, there is so much polarization between political stuff or, it's so easy to find yourself in a silo where you think there's a huge amount of people that see the same thing as you, when in reality, there's just a lot of people that are just kind of in the middle and don't really care and don't want to vocalize their opinion because they might be blasted for it. And so for us, it's been really fun to kind of play the middle ground, to be the people that play naive, because we just want to hear people's full opinions and be able to figure out where we relate and where we don't, but not focus on where we don't, and focus more on the positive aspect of how are we common. Like the perfect example is the Liver King. Like we had never had a guest we didn't have on the show, but we've never featured someone on the show where I've had so many DMs and comments being like, I can't believe that you are promoting the Liver King. And I'm like, you are focused on one aspect of this guy and not realizing that there's so much benefit. Where else are you doing that in your life? Where like you're shunning out some things that might benefit you because you're afraid of one aspect of it. So don't get caught up on one thing, try and find the whole feature. So for us as we're going forward to try and grow our channel, that's something that we've never really focused on until recently. Like we probably should have done that really early on, and focused on subscribers, but we're growing that with the hope of growing our community and finding more people that are interested in thinking like we do and supporting creators and supporting creativity and supporting finding things that make you uncomfortable and diving in. And physical is one way. Like Martin mentioned, we'll have lots of athletes on the show, but on top of that, we want to find interesting subjects that are doing really cool and interesting things and figuring out interesting and entertaining ways to highlight them and using our channel as a vehicle to give us more life experiences, because I want to go to my grave with having done a lot and not spent a lot of time in front of a computer.
Totally, man. The power of perspective, and you guys give such unique perspective, which I dig. As we wrap things up, I got a couple quick hitters for you guys. I'm going to throw you under the bus a little bit. I'll start with you, Mars. Top 3 men, top 3 women at the games. Knee-jerk reaction. What you got?
Go.
Okay, top
Don't
3 men.
think, answer.
Justin, Patrick Vellner, and Jason Hopper.
I dig it. But side note, when I had Patrick Vellner on, I think he got sunburned through the window. I just got to throw that out there.
You got to be careful for
the
him.
ghost. Yeah, like
SPF.
me and him, we got to stick together as SPF boys.
What you got for top 3 women?
Obviously Tia. I'd like to see Mal on the podium, and then let's say who else? I think Laura Horvath is still up there. I think she's got a chance to push Tia a little bit.
That's cool. Ibra, what you got? No thinking, just go.
Okay, Justin Medeiros, Patty V, and BKG.
Okay.
Those are my 3 right now, not knowing who's all qualified and not seeing how everyone performed at semis. So take that into account. For the women, and I'm not going to say a particular order, but these are the 3 I expect to see up there, or I'd like to see up there. Mal O'Brien, Caddy D, and Tia Toomey.
Nice.
I think it'll be fun. And like Marsden said, Laura Horvath, I think she's been underrated. I think she's pushed Tia in 2018 and then again last summer. I think she's going to be a threat this year. She definitely has some holes, but I think where but maybe she's made them up. I didn't really pay too close attention to her performance at Lowlands, but I hope big things for her and Mal, where I think Mal is going to come in as a new beast. And I think between those two, they're gonna give Tia
I think it's
some chase, which we haven't seen.
It's just
before.
a matter of time till Mal wins. I think if it's not this year, it's probably next year, and if it's not next year, it's definitely the year after.
She's coming.
She's coming strong.
She's coming, and Haley Adams isn't too far behind her. I mean, it's going to be a really fun field. I'm really excited to see you guys out at Granite Games and share some high fives as you guys are running around creating some really amazing content. You guys have Proven and Resurgence. Anything else kind of in the works, maybe around Matt Frazier or Justin Medeiros? Any cool things to give us a gentle peek behind the curtain?
We're working on some projects, but we won't disclose what. Actually, so we'll talk about one thing we have coming up that's really cool. We're gonna do some exclusive stuff on our Patreon page. It's kind of a documentary where we've hired another producer that we're going to executive produce, and he's going to go shoot like a little mini doc that we'll put on there and then eventually put out on our YouTube channel. And same thing with Proven. Proven has actually been, Proven is for those that don't know, is a mini documentary series that covers 3 of the sanctional events from 2019 leading up to the fittest. And that has been exclusively on our Patreon now for almost a year and a half or so. And we're going to move that over to YouTube and then maybe some other platforms where it can be streamed. But we just want to support other creators that are doing really cool things in the space that want to make documentaries. And we are so with our hands tied so much and having too much fun doing Buttery Bros stuff, honestly, that like we want to continue making that content, but we might not be the people that are behind the camera on the day-to-day on those. So we want to support others that are like-minded and hardworking. And so we found our friend Evan, who has DP'd for us on the Fittest, and he's going to be taking his hands with that. We'll announce that and what that project is in the coming weeks, so you can look for that.
Very cool, guys. Well, thank you so much for the gentle sneak peek. And I assume some very cool things with Podium kind of coming around as well. Very cool product that you guys launched earlier this year. And like always, guys, thanks so much for your time, your energy, your authenticity, and your humor. For those of you observing on YouTube or consuming on Spotify or Apple, please rate, review, subscribe, and share with your friends. And as always, stay on the hunt for who you've not yet become. Are you over 35 and in need of a solid training program? Are you looking to improve your athleticism and keep up with the younger athletes in your CrossFit gym? Then look no further than our Invictus Masters program. This program places year-round emphasis on mobility and stability exercises with movements that we have seen directly benefit our Masters athletes. Our program is led by Nicole DeHart and offers a training program designed specifically for Masters athletes who are looking to compete at a higher level in the sport of CrossFit. Some of our top Masters athletes in the world train with us, including CrossFit Games champion Kevin Kester, Matt Beals, and Pat Sprague. You can learn more about their stories and the Invictus Masters program by checking out their episodes right here on the Invictus Mindset Podcast. If you'd like more information about the current training cycle or to join the Invictus Masters program, please email Nicole at invictusathlete.com. That's NICHOLE at invictusathlete.com.